The U.S. Coast Guard has launched an official investigation into the undersea implosion of the Titanic tourist submersible that killed 5 people.
The board will first and primarily work to determine the cause of this marine casualty and the 5 associated deaths. The NBI, however, is also responsible for accountability aspects of the incident.
The Coast Guard says it's convened its highest level of investigation to recover debris and investigate the cause of the disaster. The U.S. authority will be able to recommend criminal or civil charges based on its investigation. The U.S. announcement comes one day after Canada's Transportation Safety Board said it was conducting its own investigation. With more on this, I'm joined by Paul Berg, former Marine investigator for the Transportation Board of Canada. Good morning. Thank you so much for being with us.
Good morning.
So we have a number of investigations that are going to be taking place. Clearly, there will be some coordination between all of them. But where does the TSB begin an investigation here? And where does this leave the vessel that towed the submersible out to the Atlantic, the Polar Prince?
Well, the Transportation Safety Board is a safety investigation agency. So they're going to begin their investigation looking at a number of operations on board that support vessel. As we know, the vessel left with a number of people on board and returned without 5 individuals who are now presumed dead. So they're going to gather as much information from the bridge, such as the voyage data recorder, which will record all the audios on the bridge. They'll interview people on board the vessel, the crew, as well as the support crew for the submersible, and possibly also talk to the relatives of the people who are in the submersible to give them an idea of how the TSB is going to proceed and how to maintain contact and provide the next of kin updates. The investigation is going to gather as much information they can, then develop a sequence of events. So this is now moving from a field phase to an analytical phase. Develop a detailed sequence of events and then try to identify each event, determine whether there was an unsafe act or unsafe condition which contributed to the occurrence. And this is going to take some time, and usually it could be 1, 2, perhaps just over 2 years.
Over 2 years. What sort of questions do you think need to be answered? What questions do you have? I know for the public watching, they were wondering how it came to be that this vessel was allowed to make this dangerous, risky trip in the first place.
Well, at the beginning of the investigation, the TSB will keep everything on the table. They'll look at engineering, they'll look at design, construction, materials, human performance, the operation of the vessel, maintenance logs. The list goes on and on. They'll gather as much as they can, and then they'll have to sit down and decide, okay, what is it that we really want to focus on? So gathering that information will help them drive which direction they want to take the investigation. So it's still an early stage. There's plenty of work to be done before they really refine their investigation.
Do you think that there could be criminal charges, Paul, eventually laid as a result of the incident, of the fatal journey?
My understanding at the moment is that there's 3 or 4 safety boards that are involved, one from the UK, one from France, the NTSB in the US, and our Transportation Safety Board of Canada. They are all going to be looking at it from a safety point of view, and the mandate of the board is really not to determine criminal or civil liability. However, there's also 2 other investigators. The Coast Guard is also a safety and also an enforcement agency, and then we have the RCMP. Those 2 agencies will probably look at more of the criminal aspect or civil liability aspect of that.
Would you be surprised that if in fact you're right, and it does take 2 years for this investigation, that in the meantime, all of these tours are suspended? Do you think that they could possibly go on and people will continue to still go down and want to view the remains of the Titanic?
Well, one of the things that, in terms of how the TSB operates, they will gather as much information as they can. If they find there's an immediate safety issue, they could then issue a safety letter, which will alert operators of these of these vessels and these submersibles of things that they may want to address. So TSB won't wait till the final minute of if a report comes out. They won't wait till the last minute. they will issue safety notices as soon as it becomes apparent that they need to communicate that out to the public.
Fascinating. Paul Vandenberg, former Marine investigator for the Transportation Board of Canada, thank you so much for being with us.